Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasevich.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 318 with myself and my co-host, Sarah Monroe. This week, we got a lot of great topics to talk with you about. We're going to actually be talking about, though, Instagram Reels here at the beginning. We've got quite a bit of Instagram news, but the great thing is Instagram Reels, it rolls right into a bunch of the other topics this week. I don't know. I don't know if they kind of planned that, but it's going to be a great show for you. So I'm going to go and bring on Sarah. We're going to kick things off. We got a great new guest this week. So Sarah, it's great having you back yet again.
Hi. Yes. Do these coinciding announcements and features, are they planned? I don't think they're planned. No. I don't think Instagram appreciated some of the other news that happened this week when it came to short form video. But we're going to jump into it.
You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, we will jump into it. Our guest this week is Agata Pawlak, who is the co-founder of Cruise Creative Media and also the Agile Marketing Network. And she is a content creator extraordinaire among many things that she does in marketing and events and summits and all the great stuff. So why don't we just bring her right on?
Agata, it's great seeing you. How you doing?
Great seeing you too. I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Good, very good.
Great. How was that introduction? Is there anything you want to add or change?
No, I think it was very good. I mean, I really like the topic. You know, what was it? Content creator extraordinaire. Yes, I'm going to go by that right now. I'm going to change my LinkedIn description. Because that's true. I mean, I do a lot of things. I love creating content. I love video more than anything. Yeah, everything, you name it. I'm there.
Yeah. Well, it works out great that you're here today because of this whole short form video that is exploding across absolutely every platform right now. So welcome.
For those of you, by the way, who are watching, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn, let us know where you're tuning in from. Don't forget, we also are over on Twitter at Social Chefs. We're broadcasting using Twitter Spaces. It's something we're experimenting with to see if it actually makes sense. I will say right off the bat, the workflow is very different. So you do have to, kind of make sure it's part of your run of show. Otherwise, you may forget to start it, that sort of thing. But with that, Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's kick things off. We've got a lot of news to talk about this week.
Sure. So the biggest news is that Instagram, in an effort to continue to chase TikTok, has launched text to speech. So for those who may not know what this is and what we're talking about, the text to speech really started as an accessibility feature where you could type out text and then the automated voice would read that text. And so it has exploded really in the last year. I think TikTok launched it in December of 2020. And now it's everywhere. You will see it. I see it in YouTube Shorts all the time. I've seen it in Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels. So what it does is it gives you that automated voice. So I think that automated voice has really been taking over the internet. And been part of lots and lots of memes. TikTok creators really like to reuse each other's audio and content, or you reuse some of the features and sort of thread through a great, I guess, in a way, a virtual story of how people are using the same things to tell their own story. So, let's talk a little bit about what this is. It's a voiceover feature. They're also implementing some other effects too. There's a lot of effects that exist on all of the platforms right now. Like you can change your voice to a chipmunk. We're going to talk about how you can also change this text to voice to some fun features in a later news. I don't want to spoil the news, but really, it's meant to liven up Reels, and Instagram is putting a ton. They are investing a ton of money in paying creators, in really giving more eyeballs to Reels. So they're going all in, and so I'll let you guys come on and share your opinion about what you think about this. I find it's the copycatness of it, how it's spreading. It's not really my thing, and not really my client's thing to have that anonymous voice, but it can be a lot of fun.
So this is a pretty fascinating update, by the way. And so I gotta say, I mean, I think I'd love us to talk about like the business use case of this. I mean, so Instagram is adding, they're adding Reels, obviously, or sorry, they're adding this feature to Reels. Obviously, we know that it's gonna, make it easy for you to like auto generate your voice, like to like, so it's gonna basically display the text that you're using on screen. I don't know what. I could I can't tell if this is like actually useful for a business. I mean, I'm not sold on it, I guess. I mean, when you mentioned the fact that you could do, a voice effect of like a chipmunk.
Well,
on the surface, no, but there are some deeper, I think, business partnerships, I think, that could evolve off of this.
Yeah.
I would say that for small businesses, for sure. I mean, I just did talk about Instagram Reels today, and the thing that comes up very often is that actually a lot of people are still afraid of being on camera. When we have small business owners, they are still very, very shy to do that. So that's a bit problematic, of course. And I think that with them, although this voiceover that we all know from Reels is very, very.
Did we lose her?
I think she might be a little bit frozen. What
Okay.
we could do is maybe show the instructions as
Yeah,
we're
let's go
getting her
to
back.
that. Yeah, let me go back to that. So basically,
I
this
don't
is
know
the-
what happened, guys.
Oh, she's back.
I'm back. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Maybe my cat bumped something. I have no clue. Sorry. Is it okay if I continue? Yeah.
Yes,
Where
please.
I left off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I mean is, we all know this like overexcited voice of the lady that is like, I didn't know what to do. This one voiceover that they used to have, which is very useful for a lot of people, because I was just talking about how using the Instagram sounds, as you say, and reusing the Instagram sounds that other creators have used actually pushes your Reels forward. So if you are a person that, for example, has a service and really wants to show your service but doesn't want to show your face, you can add a little bit more character to it. Of course, depends on how you're going to use it, right? You have to use it right. Maybe not a chipmunk, But at the same time, we have for example, in the city that I'm from, we have a comedy restaurant, and they have content, and they keep on putting food and this and that and this and that. But they do stand-up comedy. They could use it for their little, presentation of how they're getting ready for the show, I think. So you always have to put a little twist on it. But I think maybe, not for huge businesses, maybe not in finance sector, maybe not in medical sector or whatever. But I think it can have use for businesses for sure.
Very possible.
Or you can clip the very beginning of the audio. Say that you are a health educator. I know that health educators are all over TikTok, and hopefully they'll be in Instagram Reels, because I think it's really valuable content. I've seen them on YouTube too, is that you can clip a piece of that meme and then maybe dispel a myth or go dive deeper into the information. So I think if you are creative, I think with the chipmunk voice, what first comes to mind, I used to work with folks who are in the plumbing and heating and ventilating systems. Chipmunks get into vents, and you could actually, you could make it a little fun about how you, had to deal with a little chipmunk, or have your vent cleaning bot have a chipmunk voice. There's some things that you could have some fun with.
And the sounds seems to be one of the most important things on Reels. So, I did the one before when it was trending, and it was kind of like reenactment of a scene from Harry Potter. And I adapted it to a situation from social media. It might be a bit silly. It depends if you're that kind of a person who does a little silly things. I don't mind a little cheesy humor,
Right.
But you can definitely do it.
That's a great point, because bringing in that the sort of cultural norms that we have, or clips from movies or things like that, we spread those kinds of things through workshops and main stage speaking and webinars and things like that. Bring that into your short form video, which could be a great idea, right?
For sure.
Because we do see people who jump to little clips, little movie clips or TV clips or something like that. You could thread that in as well.
Yeah, I think the key thing with just Reels content overall is just to make sure that, if you're not sure what to create, I would say you need to do some research. And that would be looking at look at your competitors, for example. So follow your competitors. Don't be afraid to follow your competitors. Follow your competitors. Just, keep an eye on, look at the stuff they post. Look at other larger brands, for example, that you aspire to be like. And check out what kind of Reels content they're creating, how they might use it. Also follow some of the other, more like prominent people on the platform as well. For example, you could follow our friends like Chelsea Pites, for example. I think she does Instagram for real estate. I know she uses this feature quite a lot, actually. Check out some of those people as well to see what they're doing. And see if there's anything you might be able to borrow, because you got to, like you said, both of you said actually, that this is not a feature that it's hard to on the surface figure out how do you actually make it useful for your business, but it is something you do want to kind of experiment with. One thing I want to do is I want to cut back to that slide we had, Sarah, and I want to just talk about how people go about creating these. So first off, obviously you need the Instagram app. This is not an Instagram desktop thing. Instagram app. So you got to have the Instagram app. You go to the Reels camera. You're going to do your standard, it's very simple. You do the standard recording of a video or pick something from the gallery. You use the text tool like you normally would. And then what you want to do off of that is you do the add text to the video option. You tap on the text bubble, and then you change the sticker to text to speech, and you're going to have 2 voice options to pick from. That's as simple as it is. Is there anything else y'all want to add on that functionality?
Well, what's great is if, as Agata was saying, if people are shy, this will auto narrate for you, right? It doesn't have to be your voice. If you're like me today, who's sort of chowing down on every cough drop within reach, you can keep your production going forward when your voice may not be the best.
Well,
or you just want to be more anonymous.
And the other flip side to this is, so you can do it that way. The other thing is you can always just get yourself a stand, set your phone up on something and point it at something that's nice. For example, let's say you have, say you've got a room with a window and some flowers and a table or something like that. And you're like, you know what? I don't want to be on camera for these, but maybe say it's your business. It could be inside your store and you could be narrating. So you could still be in the store. It could still be branded with some of your, branding there. But you can still narrate that without actually having to be on camera.
Right.
This is one of my favorite Reels, by the way. I have a weird thing that I really like watching on Reels and on YouTube, which is rug washing.
Okay.
I don't know if you have seen it. It's so popular. Literally, those channels have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And I saw it on Reels, and I actually used it in one of my talks because I thought it was absolutely brilliant. People literally just show rug washing, right? But I also have seen someone who did this narration, with that option over it, and literally added look how dirty. Oh, look at the phone. It's hilarious. And it's like rug washing. It's nothing, right? And I think we really have to take into consideration, because I think there's always, but that's of course bigger topic, but this breaking apart between people who are marketers, who are maybe thinking more in terms of almost like old school marketing, like big billboards, and that everything should be proper and perfect and wonderful. And then there are people who are actually consuming social media, which is basically everyday conversation kind of things. So we have to marry the two, us in the middle, social media managers, and kind of figure out the way how we can apply those everyday talks to the marketing.
Right. So let's ask, since you're a content creator extraordinaire, what are 2 or 3 tips that you have for creating Reels? Because as I'm creating Reels, I find that there they can become this giant time suck. So what are some of your tips for Reels?
First of all, planning ahead is huge, but that's with every video. You should plan everything, and I mean you should plan your overlays, your transitions. You should plan where you're going to record, what time of the day, lighting, of course, it's very, very important. Which effects you're going to use, because the more you use in the editor, the bigger chance you have to actually being pushed through forward in the algorithm. Because it's like, it's like with PSD file, the more layer it has, the more Instagram reads that you have done on it. So you should use as many things as possible. And another thing is start with your sound before you even, the first stage when I outline it is start with your sound that you're going to use and find the sound that is trending. Because even if you put it a little bit on the, behind on what you're saying, that's huge. The sound on Reels is huge. And batch create for sure, especially for us. I have to do my hair, I have to do my makeup, all of that, and making Reels is time consuming, and also the editor in the app can be a little bit buggy, so this is another thing to always have a safeguarded clip somewhere. But to definitely batch record and batch create, because otherwise setting up, thinking about all the transitions, everything is very, very time consuming. Whereas you can, if you do few Reels a week, you can do it in a couple of hours and then just have to edit maybe later and stuff like that.
Very true.
So you're saying use the effects, just to reiterate here, use the effects that are within the Reels composer instead of a video editor.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I saw the big difference, because not with everybody, workflow with every client is a little bit different, and especially with Reels, because you cannot schedule them. You have to publish them on the spot. You might have someone else responsible for going in and just scheduling the thing. So I did test a little bit, editing in Premiere Pro, doing exactly same overlay, looking like Instagram Reel text, same font, everything. But it never does as well as being edited in the Reels, in Instagram app itself.
So is that an algorithm thing, or is that just hey, could it be an algorithm? I wonder, it makes me wonder if it's an algorithm thing.
I think it's an algorithm thing, and a lot of people claim that it's an algorithm thing. I mean, of course, they're going to promote you using their app, of course. And they know how to figure it out. And it's probably also the answer to the fact that a lot of people were reposting their TikToks with a watermark, which is completely different tangent. So now they want to make sure that, you just spend time in the app, of course.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, so Instagram has this whole, text to speech thing. Like they want, when they put a feature out, they want you to actually use the feature. And it's not like, they want you to use it because they want more people to use it. They want you to use it, and they try to reward you with that, that functionality.
Right.
Sorry, they reward you for using that functionality, that new feature. So when they roll this stuff out, you should try and experiment, see if it's worthwhile. I think that, again, I like the fact that you're mentioning, there's so many different ways to create these. You could go outside and use a third-party app, but the thing is, you also got to look at the time. And it's not about just pumping out content. That's the other thing that's super important to all this. You got to make sure as a business that you plan out, you spend time planning out every little thing you're doing. It's for example, for this show that we're live streaming this, we have a bit of a run of show that we follow. After a bunch of episodes, obviously, it does become, second nature, but it is something that you want to make sure you have a process for. Everything has a process. And so, I think so again, when Instagram's rolling this feature out, okay, you should learn how to use it. You may not use it all the time. Just like I have 8 views that I can switch between here in the dashboard, I'm not using all 8. So, but use the ones that are going to be useful for you. So okay. So Instagram's got this whole, text and speech, this text to speech thing. They also have the video, the voice effects, by the way, as well. Sarah, I'm going to cut back to this real quick. So they got the voice effects thing as well, and this is where you can be on screen and you can have a certain look at things. With the voice effects, they're going to be rolling it out where you can basically go in, you can, again, just edit your audio inside of the Instagram app. Again, same process. Go into Instagram, open up the Reels camera, record a reel, tap the music note, and then you're going to have the ability to add effects. What do y'all think about these? Are these effects actually going to be useful? How do you feel about these?
Well, they've been around for a year on TikTok, right? Where you can emphasize, you can add more volume to seem like you're really low voice or a really high voice, slow down, speed up. There's all kinds of effects that you can use, and I think it's inevitable that it was going to come to Reels as well. So the next place, of course, will be Facebook. We haven't seen it on YouTube stuff yet, but certainly it's something, it's something just to have some fun with and experiment with.
So when we talk about business, Sarah, I'm going to go into the next topic here, like sort of, segue into this. You said that, text to speech has been around for obviously a while. Why is that?
Well, for those of you who aren't on TikTok, you may have missed the memo or the meme, the memo, right?
Ooh,
that text. Yeah, there we go. The memo is that text to speech has been a huge part of TikTok for, I think they released it last December. And so just after Instagram announced that they have this great new feature, TikTok rolled out 2 days later, hey, we have a new exclusive partnership with Disney, where the text to speech, the speech voice can be a Disney character. So this is the entire Disney catalog, right? So you can be C-3PO, or you can be someone from the Marvel universe. So it's giving people the chance to change from that automated voice to a Disney character. So upping the ante on certainly on the content and the creativity that's going to come into TikTok, and subsequently filter into all of the other social media apps that use short form video. So I don't think I'm really missing anything other than that. That's pretty much all that's part of the announcement. I mean, really, everybody is chasing after younger users, the younger audiences. And my question for all of this, this is great and this is cool, but who's spending the money, right? Who's spending the money in our economies? Are they the 13-year-olds on TikTok? Or are they older? And are those 13-year-olds keeping those people engaged who are going to spend money? It's just a question I have.
I want to address one thing right there, because that's a lot of thing that people are talking about. And maybe on TikTok, it's even more like that than on Reels, because Reels, Instagram has a little bit different demographic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, I'm 33 in a month and I am consuming a lot of Reels. My dad is 60. He's consuming a lot of Reels. He's consuming so many Reels that it's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be really fun for everybody. And I am really not convinced that TikToks and Reels and short form videos are only for a younger audience, because there's such a big variety. Like, even if you switch from TikTok to Reels to YouTube Shorts, how different are those videos? They are different. Or maybe it's just I'm watching something different and they are showing me something else. But I think that once algorithm is used to the fact of what you like and what you don't like the Reels on our Cruise Creative Instagram are showing there's a lot of knowledge on them. And then there's a lot of cuts on mine. It's completely two different things. So I don't fully agree that there are only young people that consume Reels and they're selling. I think that a lot of olderish generation, speaking between 33 and 60, is still consuming them, and they will still profit from it because they're still addictive for everybody.
Right. Well, I think the younger, I sort of pose that as a, open-ended question for everybody to respond to. But I think the creativity that's coming from the younger generations and the younger creators are hooking the older generations. Yeah. And it just keeps turning and churning that way.
And it's interesting. I would ask this question. Is it actually creative? Are they actually creative? Because I don't really think so. Because if you think
Depends what you watch.
well, I guess I'm looking at it from the perspective of when you're applying, some of these effects and whatnot to the actual videos, the person's actually not doing any of that. It's actually the technology doing it. So for example, a few years ago, if you wanted to do motion tracking where you moved and something followed you for example, or that was something that you had to use, video editors for. And now you can do that on a mobile phone because they've added it into like those applications. So like you used to have a lot of skill to do it, and they've taken that skill away by making it use like AI to actually figure out how to actually do the map, like how to do all those connections and things like that.
Right. I think the creativity comes in with what's being said, what is the trend that they're starting
Yeah.
And also the combination of the tools, which is another news piece that we have later on about Meta/Facebook adding
yes.
more apps opening up the app development.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know a 15-year-old who sells her Instagram stories and reels filters to people. So she sells that combination set so that people can mimic her reels and stories with the combination of filters and effects and sound and all of that she uses, so that they can use her aesthetic in what they post too. So I think there is creativity for sure in how people put them together.
Yeah.
If I can just add something, because we just mentioned those Disney characters, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm super excited for Darth Vader. I want Darth Vader voice tomorrow. My dad is actually Polish Darth Vader, right? So he has the skill. I don't. I'm not a Polish Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I can already think about the fun ways to put my message across. You have the nightmare client. You can go in and speak like, oh, there is this nightmare client, and you can speak with Darth Vader voice. Is it silly? Yes. But does it portray certain message? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're getting into almost like an era where everything is supposed to be more lighthearted, like kind of show it as a joke. But you can still show a proper message through that joke. And this is, I think, where creativity is coming from. Because I don't know how to do the voice. That's true. But I might think about how to use it in a creative way to forward my message that is quite serious forward.
Good point.
Right.
So those are all great points, by the way. So I have a question going back to this. We talked about, this is the TikTok one with, TikTok adding Disney characters for voices. One question I guess I have on that is they're saying something about keywords. That part I'm not following. Like, are they going to make it where you have to, use a certain keyword? Like, I'm not following the way they're going to unlock those voices. I don't know if y'all picked up on that.
I have no clue.
I didn't pick up on it either, but certainly everything's going to be searchable, right? Yeah. Using that voice is going to be searchable. Everything, all the audio clips, all going to be searchable and reusable if you allow it on public posts, if you allow it, right? So that copycat effect, that meme machine that's going to happen from all of these will be there and search and discoverable for people. So what I really like, I've just noticed it with Instagram Reels, is that there's some audio pieces. There's some comedians that I follow that their audio gets reused, and it's kind of funny to see how people reuse their audio. Yeah. They've now positioned the original audio in the first left-hand, the top left-hand corner. When you click on the audio, you can see who did it first, instead of having to scroll to find who the original person was. Nice. So, I mean, you can see their name, but it took a long time to find their original reel to see what they did first to start the ball rolling with the meme. So
sticking with all these topics, by the way, and I want to, Bob left a great comment, by the way. I'm going to get to that in a second, but I want to cover the last piece of this whole puzzle. So we talked about how Instagram Reels is adding text to speech and voice effects. You create the Reels, we walked through how to do that. TikTok is doing, they were I guess you could say they're the originators of text to speech. I don't know,
in that format.
In that format, right? The original text-to-speech were computers in the 1970s.
So what they're doing is, they're adding now the Disney piece now, like where you can have Disney voice effects. Awesome. Now, sticking with that trend, obviously the trend there is business.
Right.
Snapchat is getting in on the news as well.
Sarah, Snapchat's getting on the news. So Snapchat now has an exclusive deal with Sony Music so that you can bring the Sony Music library with the artists that are participating into your snaps. And so we don't talk a lot about Snapchat, but they have been the sleeper, right? This announcement actually comes 2 weeks after they announced that they now have exclusive rights to NBC Universal movies and TV shows. So what I find really interesting about Snap, when we talk about young users, Snapchat and Instagram are the two biggest platforms used by teens right now. And 45% of the videos that are created on Snapchat are being shared through messaging, not shared publicly. So it's really interesting how Snap has become this camera video tool for younger people. And now they're adding music. And I can say personally, from being part of Instagram user groups and just different Facebook groups that talk about social media, music is one of the biggest issues that people have with Instagram and Facebook stories and reels.
And social media in general, actually.
Social media in general, right? What can you use? So this is really interesting how music, and especially the Sony catalog, is coming to Snapchat. So not to be outdone and not to be forgotten, Snapchat is there in the mix. And I have to say, when we talk about Disney characters, right? NBC Universal characters, when you think about all of all of the shows that people love to repeat. And right now you just see clips, movies, everything. So it's going to be interesting.
So
I just want...
Yeah,
I just wanted to show you something. Look, do you see Instagram anywhere? No, I have Snapchat.
And is that because, are you using Snapchat to like add the effects and then bring them into other things, or?
No, I use Snapchat in a completely different way. I use Snapchat mostly privately, and I actually mention it very often if I train people to be on camera. So in this way, I use it for business because I use it mostly for video messaging. I'm clearly not living in my country, so a lot of my groups of friends are in different places, so we just communicate. But I found it to be a fantastic tool to train people to be on camera. And I have a sentiment for Snapchat, because Snapchat was the first place they did stories. Stories were taken from Snapchat to Instagram as well. You know, Snapchat was the OG. And I think that Snapchat was actually the birth of short time video, because at the beginning you just had 10-second clip, and every time you have to record 10-second clip, now you can make it roll for a minute. But they were the originator, and I think that this creativity also started there somewhere. I don't particularly like this cameo stuff, like the screenshot that you showed, you know, that you put your face and it does the silly things, because you literally don't do anything then. But Snapchat for editing is not very great, but I think that it also has uses as a tool for video general.
Right. And a lot of people are just using it as a camera too. Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, Snapchat went into they moved to being a camera company. If you think about the bigger picture of that, when they become a camera company, that means that other people will want to use their effects and things like that in their apps, which means they then license it. They become like a Jiffy or somebody like that. So again, Jiffy was acquired by Facebook. But I gotta say, I like the idea of all the licensing, like going, I mean, it essentially comes down to this. It's all licensing, you know, it's like be an artist, like i.e. be a musician or an actor, you know, somebody who is, you know, in roles where you're able to make those lines, things like that. And then, you know, you're able to basically, you know, earn quite a good living off of that just by having then those items licensed out. So I gotta say, I mean, I like the transition in this because it moves into like just the whole idea of how this could potentially be useful for business. Now, a certain type of business, like it's useful for like a Disney because, hey, they're the ones that, you know, are probably like, they're probably getting a nice sum of money to be able to license that. If I am, you know, a small to medium business, you know, maybe this may spur some things. Maybe, for example, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and he was telling me that, for example, he does like some voice work. like, but he doesn't actually do it publicly. Like, and he did some like voices, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, right? And I was pushing him to like, you know what, you should go on like sites like Fiverr or things like that, and you should go. And if that's something that you're passionate about, you need to start doing more of it, because then you create essentially a character or a voice or something like that that you technically own, that then in this case could be potentially licensed. So very cool. I do want to bring Bob's comment up real quick, by the way. And then we're going to do a quick lightning round, by the way, of things. So Bob's comment, and I want to get both your takes on this. Bob's comment was, can Reels really be used for business? Short. I'm going to turn it to both of you. Who wants to take it first? Either of you.
I'll let Agata go first, and then I know Bob, so I'm going to tell Bob what he actually can do with Reels.
Okay.
Of course, they can be used for business. As I said, that there are so many ways of using it. I mean, just like right now, like we're talking, we are nicely divided in three. If I say something smart, I could take that video, take 15 seconds of it and publish it as a reel, and I have bigger chance to be seen by more people than if I would do it in a square. Why not? You know, there's certain stuff like that. This is super basic thing that you can do, but you can do Reels in all sorts of ways. And yes, they can be used for business. They increase your reach, which then increase everything else that you're doing, you know, clicks to your website, sales, service sales, you know, you establish yourself as a, my God, I lost the word, you know, as a knowledgeable person in your topic and in your business. So
thought leader.
Yeah, exactly. So you can definitely do it in so many things, or you can just promote your rug washing and people will come to wash rugs.
Okay, so
I'm just saying, I watch the dog washing videos. Actually, YouTube found me with the dog washing videos.
Ones, so
yeah,
so I got the whole gamut covered.
Exactly.
Reels.
So Bob, so let's use Bob as an example, calling him out a little bit here. But Bob is a climate change activist, and he's also an electric vehicle advocate. So there are so many reels that he can create showing how he now has an EV. He's an EV user, and how he's using his EV, where he's finding different places to charge his EV, what kind of challenges he's having. I have to say, Bob was the first person that I really saw using stories too, or using, what was it called on Facebook? It was called Watch Party. You know how you could clip together all these different videos? Mm-hmm. So he would actually curate, he would do some live video at events, and then he would curate all of those clips into a watch party. So it's the same kind of example. Yes, it's a new tool, but you can use the same storytelling principles of the past with this new tool. So it's just, you know, moving those storytelling principles into the new format.
And also, if you're doing stories, just speak a few seconds more and save it and publish it as reel, and it's going to live forever.
Yep.
Just that.
Yep. Exactly. So, okay. So I think we need to move on so that we have enough time to talk to our guest about some more content creation questions.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so we mentioned this before, and poor Spotify. We keep trying to talk about Spotify adding video, but Spotify is adding video podcasts. And when I was sort of looking through this news, I'm a person who usually streams Spotify to a smart speaker or to my car or something like, or I have earbuds in and my phone is in my pocket. I'm not really looking at the screen. So I think it was only about 3 months ago that I discovered that Spotify actually has videos playing for music when there are videos available. And I was like, that's interesting, right? So I've been a little bit behind with Spotify, but they are bringing out video podcasts, which is a great new feature for them. For Facebook, Facebook Meta, we're not sure if it's going to be called Facebook or if it's going to move into the Meta umbrella, but they are they're opening up their creative app platform. So we talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago. What they're doing is they are allowing creators to get into that development app and use their composer tools, package that up as a little mini app within the stories composer. So when you're creating a story, you can actually choose an app that can add different filters and layers and text, colors, and things like that you can apply to your story. So I think this is kind of genius and allowing people who are creative to play around with the tools to make them discoverable, see what takes off, and may actually become a new feature in a reel or a story or whatever it is that Meta is trying to push out as a new feature on their platforms. So the innovation is actually coming from the creative community instead of the coders within the company. So I think that's really interesting. Instagram is adding moderators to live video, which is great. Finally, thank you, especially for those who have big live audiences. YouTube has done it for a long time. Great that IG is getting into it. We've got a few other pieces of news from Twitter with adding NFTs to display as profile pictures, and they're also acquiring Threader, which allows you to convert a thread of tweets into more readable text. So we'll add all of that to the blog post that will come out over the weekend, and you can read about some of the Twitter news that's coming out.
There's quite a bit, yeah. So we'll make sure we put all that in the blog post. So I know it's Q&A time, isn't it, Sarah?
It is Q&A time. So we have the content creator extraordinaire, right? And one question that I have, we've talked about a lot of changes, right? A lot of the things that have been happening. I think Instagram had 11 feature set changes in the last 6 weeks or something like that. So how do you navigate this constant change on the platforms while you're still trying to reach those goals that you've set and planned for?
Well, I think that every person who works in social media has to be used to rapid changes in pace. So you have to be up to date, like you can watch Social Chatter, but or you can read all sorts of articles and make sure that you're in the loop. But it's very easy to lose track of what's happening. And you have to have specific mindset. I mean, I call it, agile mindset, and agile is my buzzword. I love the word agile, and you can use it in everything. You have to be able to adapt to changes and also track those changes and track what you're doing at the same time. So move very quickly, but also be organized at the same time. And, every time I see some news and some interesting news like what we were talking about today, I have a specific system when I pin them, and then on specific time I go through them, and then I wonder how can I apply it for the future content, future strategies, or that I know to observe them, maybe spend some time on social media, see how they perform on the different people and competitors, etc. So I think it takes certain character, but it takes certain system to be able to stay up to date with all of that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think the number of sound clips that I have saved from Reels right now, I really need to rework. I know. It's like, I have got to use some of these. Sometime they will come in handy, and I will have that creative juice to put together a reel using that sound.
You know what I do as well. I mean, I have set up, this is a bit of a tool thing, but we have set up on Slack and we have set up on Notion. And you can create a specific email where every time you see something, you can just send it to the email to your Slack channel, and you can have a Slack channel, your kind of social media news or something to look at later. And you have all of it in the first place. And it's very easy to do as well.
Yep. We've created lists actually on Facebook for right now. We've created a list where we share news stories like, hey, I saw this.
Like a save.
Didn't read all the way through it, but it might be something interesing for us to add to the show. Yeah. So I love that idea. Really love that idea.
I think Doreen, I think, also does that. She does like her little collections. Either Slack or Notion or a Pocket is a good app as well to use. Yeah. Which we used to use in the past. Depend like what do you need, but definitely you have to keep an eye because it's so many things. How many news did we have today? 14,
right.
15?
Right.
Yeah.
So since we're on tools,
Yeah.
What are the tools that you use to evaluate different social media platforms? That's always a question, right? Which one should I be? Should I be on Snapchat? Should I be on TikTok? Should I be doing this? So what are the tools that you're using to evaluate?
To evaluate, it's a difficult question because I don't have any specific tool that I use to evaluate it. What I do is I always do competitors analysis, and I always look at what competitors are doing, but not blindly. So I definitely have, my influencers, let's say, and every client that I have, I have to make a little bit of research in the industry that they're in. So I definitely check on what competitors are doing, what audience do they have, what audience kind of interacts with them on different platforms. Of course, we can all access data, the general data of each platform, but kind of just spending time on social media also gives you that feeling. And sometimes I think it's like kind of like, one tool is great, right? But everything changes so rapidly that if you would have stats for LinkedIn today, for the last month, for example, they might not be applicable anymore because there's new trend of people, I don't know, posting private pictures all of a sudden on LinkedIn. Whether you like it or you don't like it, people started doing that as well. So I think that you just choose your competitors, influencers that you're striving to be, see what works for them, but not blindly. I have a really good example, actually. There is someone that... the company that I always mention, some Italian friend of mine showed it to me because I wouldn't even know because their Instagram is in Italian. It's a funeral home. And they have, you would think that funeral home cannot have big following on social media. They are amazing. They do comedy, which is ridiculous. It's not bad taste. And they just adapt stuff to like... I can't even explain it. It's very weird, but they're very successful. So sometimes you can break the mold, but of course you have to have proper idea for it. But apart from that, just get inspired.
Right.
See what happens.
Right. There's actually one of the first brands that I followed on Facebook was a trucking company. Well, one was the national parks, the U.S. national parks. Beautiful photos. But this trucking company who asked their truckers every day, take a picture where you are, because they are doing long haul cross country stuff. Beautiful pictures. And then every 20th post or so is, hey, this truck has space. Do you need to move some? It was a company that moves heavy equipment, right? Very niche audience. But they filled up their calendar within a few hours because they had that following.
Yeah, we had that actually as well, removal company. And they were also sharing like a victory of the day. So, for example, they moved this huge dollhouse for someone. And, it's not anymore. It's not just about the truck. It's about some little girl got their huge dollhouse that they thought is going to break, transferred into new home, and everyone is happy. Great content.
Right.
So basically that tool would be essentially, if you think about it, yourself. So like, use yourself as... So like conduct research of it. So key thing is conduct research. Okay. So how do you do that? You need to actually use yourself as the tool to evaluate things like that. So like, for example, follow your competitors, look at what your competitors are doing. Also in terms of like, you mentioned spending time on social media. I'd also, I guess, add to that. Maybe people also need to see how they feel based off of certain content that they follow. And so then that way, as you're starting to see it, like, how does it make you feel? And then apply that to like something that you may want to do on your own channel. Like if you feel, for example, that like, oh, that content seems like, oh, that's actually funny. Maybe you like you're saying, like maybe you could incorporate something like that into your own, like into what you're doing.
And always play to your strengths as well.
Yes, I love that.
Right. I think I really question people who say, I hate social media, yet they work in social media. I think you have to fundamentally like what you're working with, right? So that said, we always like to, well, not always, but we like to give people some tips, right? And we know that there are a lot of small business owners who don't have a lot of time to spend on social media right now, especially with end of year ramping up, right? And they haven't put together a plan this year. They know they should put together a content plan. So can you give us a few tips for people who are trying to churn out content and trying to find the time to make the plan? And you had mentioned that little word agile too.
Yes.
So if you could spread that.
I'm already on it. Well, first of all, I think that for a lot of business owners, which it's not mentioned very often, like we always talk about social media, like business owners have all their time for social media. Of course, we are busy people. And if you're a business owner, you have a million things to do. And social media is just one of those things. So you have to make sure that it fits right into your day and to everything. But the planning is going to save you, to make you less stressed about everything. Because the first thing, if you get a new client, what you get is stress. They are stressed that they're not going to be able to make it. So you have to create a plan. You have to start small and you have to organize. When you plan anything, like let's say you plan, you want to start posting on social media, right? You are going to want to create a month of content. When you hear month of content, it's very overwhelming. So what you should do is divide it to a very biteable size pieces, and then move on one by one. And I'm already doing this because I can imagine a Kanban board. I am the big proponent of agile, using agile methodology in marketing, which means exactly that. You divide everything to a biteable size pieces, like one task only, like Wednesday post on Instagram, putting it on your to-do list and moving it along to draft, approved, and doing through all the steps to clear it up. This is something that gives you such a visual representation of where you are in your process. And it also allows you to put all your ideas in one place and organize them there instead of having notes on your phone. Maybe you put something on the paper. Maybe you put something in this program, that program, Google Docs, what have you. Instead, you have everything in one place. And start small. Start with few pieces of content, plan for them to be regular. So you can make a little calendar, or you can just make a Kanban board. Decide, for example, sometimes for the beginners in Agile, we just use our whiteboard. That's why we have it here, because you can draw out your month and you can write down, okay, every Monday is going to be a picture from the road from a person in a truck. Every Wednesday is going to be what we offer. Every Friday is going to be a testimonial. And that already gives you those biteable size pieces that then you can put into the tools like Trello, like Notion, Plannable, Airtable, ClickUp, you name it, and you can start acting on it. And it gives you such a peace of mind. It frees up so many things. And if you try it on one thing, on one story, as we say, so let's say the story is content for social media might be quite a big story, but you might do it in your private life as going for a trip. What do I have to do to go for a trip? I have to pack my suitcase, I have to go shopping, I have to do a check-in online. Once you adapt it to one thing, then you want to adapt Agile to everything, because it gives you peace of mind and clarity, and you're going to sleep with an empty head, which is the most important thing for every business owner. You can have your emails there, you can have your accounting there, you can have everything, including social media. So then, because everything becomes less overwhelming, social media also becomes less overwhelming, because you have it there, what you have to do, and you can slowly progress. So Agile and using Agile, game changer.
Awesome. Yeah, I got to say, I mean, those are some great tips for helping people build that content plan. And I got to say, the one thing that I think is like super important there. One is, actually, there are three things I think are important. One is making sure that you are building a system. I think that makes a lot of sense. Keeping that system tight. Like, I love the fact that you mentioned, like there's lots of different places that you can go and put all this information. But the fact that you want to have a very simple system. And then the other thing I like is, you're talking about having a whiteboard. I'd even go so far as like, almost like if you have the space, set up 3 vertical walls and like move things from one to the next next, and keep it out of your head, keep it on the wall, and always keep it moving along. And Sarah's got a whole bunch of.
I got my Post-it notes.
Or did all those like mean different things, or is it like?
Oh yes, of course.
Okay, cool, very cool.
They can do.
Because they help. That visual. I am a Post-it noter.
Yeah.
So when I'm planning out a big event or a big campaign, I put the milestones on Post-it notes and I move them around.
Nice. And I do this. I use the Rocket Book for I take my notes, but then I digitize them into a system.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Cool.
So
I think it changes a lot because, of course, now, with a lot of remote working, the problem with Post-its is you can't put them to your suitcase and just travel with you and put them back on the wall. There's certain stuff, that you cannot add, you cannot link. But the good thing about those systems is that it also improves cooperation with your clients. So, for example, if you are a social media manager, it's so much easier to do iterations and to have someone come back to the system that they know it's there instead of just redoing everything in your Google Sheet. It's completely different ballgame and you save so much time.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, this has been an amazing show, by the way. We talked about Instagram Reels and text to speech and voice effects, and obviously how TikTok and Snapchat are kind of also, they're all staying the course. So that that could mean something, I think, in the long run about the direction things are headed. But I got just one last question for you, and that's where can people get in touch with you, by the way?
Well, first of all, you can follow me and James on Cruise Creative. You can always add me also on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn, on Agata Pawlak. But I think Instagram is probably the easiest. You can always send us a DM. We always answer.
Fantastic. And Sarah, how about you? Where can people get in touch with you?
People can get in touch with me across social media at Sarah Monroe VT. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please drop a message and let me know that you saw me on Social Chatter.
Fantastic. And I'm Christian Kurasevich, and we're at Social Chefs across all our social media platforms. Just a couple of quick reminders, by the way. Blog post is going to be going out over the weekend. socialchefs.com/SC318. That'll get you to the blog post. Our next show is the 25th, right, Sarah? So Sarah and I are going to be running next week's show. Yeah.
Yep.
So
it'll be a little holiday treat, and we are pre-recording so that we can enjoy Thanksgiving in the U.S.
Thanksgiving, of course.
Yes. So with that, I want to thank both of you. This has been an amazing show. With that, I hope you all have a great weekend, and make sure you take some of these tips that Agata shared and start to implement them in your business. Even if it's just taking that first step, which is getting everything, just start to get things organized, and then start to put that system in place. So thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you all next week. Bye.